I'm Micah. I wrote a book and self-published it, and it did pretty well on Amazon. Bam, I'll put it right there. I also publish a anthology every year, a horror anthology with a bunch of awesome authors, and it does really well, and it's all for charity. And now I help other people publish books, new authors getting into the self-publishing sphere. I help them do that, and every Friday I get to kick it with my girl and talk about all the awesome things. I like long walks on the beach, and I am 25 years old. Okay. Your turn. Go. We got 2 minutes for an intro.
Okay, Chelsea here. I write books. I like to write dark epic fantasy. I show up on a couple of the anthologies Micah has done. Hopefully this year again, let's just be honest. I have written The Blood of the Lion, The Mark of the Dam, The Dance of Destiny. Now, The Scars of the Wicked is coming out here. I am just hoping that it all works out. So, that being said, I've done a few short stories. I have written a dark kids book that is, I'm not sure if it's kids friendly, let's be honest.
Oh, it's great. It's very kids friendly.
Yeah.
Very kids friendly.
And I am a coffee addict and will find any way to drink my coffee. And I like music. Goodbye.
Bye. So I went ahead and hired somebody to do my website because I just didn't have the time. I don't have the time to sit there and do it all. So I got on Upwork and hired somebody to do the website. She handed it over to me yesterday. It looks awesome. So I get to go in and start working on the copy and everything. So I'm super stoked for that. But one of the things that I wanted her to do is set up a newsletter.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is the first chapter of The Stinging Blade will be available for download for anyone who signs up, which is, you've read it. A couple other people have read it. It's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But that's going to be on there for anyone who signs up. And then the second thing I wanted her to do was create a chatbot so that when people log in, this chatbot will be there saying, "Hey, how you doing? I'm the Oracle. What's up?" And so people can actually chat with the Oracle on their favorite books, on what my book's about, on what other authors I recommend. Wow. So I can feed this chatbot all this information that I want it to know, and then people can just chat with it while they're on the website.
That's freaking incredible.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about it.
Did you give her data already to upload to get it started?
No, so that is all me. She just got it integrated. She coded it. I did not.
She coded that from scratch?
Yeah. So I actually went into the dashboard and I saw her code, and I was like, "Oh, I'm glad I hired somebody." So,
oh my god.
Yeah. It was like you can either use the GUI or you can use the code, and I was like, I'm gonna use the GUI because there's no way I'm gonna be touching that code. So yeah, but basically, I just feed it all of my information. So I'm going to upload the book to it. I'm going to upload all my favorite authors to it. Tell it basically this is me and this is what I'm all about. Mm-hmm. Then people can just chat with it and learn all about me and learn all about the book and all that kind of stuff.
I'm actually really freaking impressed by that. So
yeah,
essentially, is the website itself built out and done, or do you have the foundation and you're just going to go in and upload stuff?
It is done. You could go to micahcampbell.com right now and see it. I'm slowly changing the images that she put in, and I gave her some quotes and some copy just to kind of fill in the blanks, but I have to go in and actually put all that stuff in there. And I'm super stoked about it. There it is.
I see it.
There it is. Yep. So yeah, it's ready to roll.
Oh my god!
And you got that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, you got that picture of Iliadara standing in the library there.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah. I'm super. Oh, I'm gonna have to blank that. You just showed the cover.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna have to blur that out. That's so funny.
I forgot we were recording.
That is hilarious. That is so funny.
We are live.
Yes, we are live. Ish. We're live-ish.
I'm so excited.
I'm going to have to put a screen blur over that.
like censored.
Right,
Oh my
right.
gosh.
It's
Oh my
so
gosh.
funny.
I'm so impressed. It's so nice to have. Oh, I see the chat bot just popped up.
Yeah, yeah. So right now it just says, "Hey, ask a question.
I
We'll
have a
get back to you."
question.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the basic. What it will eventually be is it won't be that fill out form. It'll be, "What can I help you with?" And you'll type in, "Who is this Mikey guy?" or "What is his book about?" And it'll just start talking to you.
Dude,
Yeah,
I am in love. So I just put the meet the author page and everything like that. I was looking at it. I'll have to look at it more when we're not,
yeah, yeah.
obviously. I'm not freaking flashing the cover around like,
Right, right. Oh, hey, look at this. No one's supposed to see this yet.
but I'm like, I love it. And so are you going to stick with the same background? I like for the most part, are you happy? I know you're saying some of the images are going to be swapped out and stuff.
So most of those images are mine that I gave her. So some of them will stay, the static backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, my graphic designer that I hired for the book cover gave me many different high res images that I can put in there, that kind of thing. So, but the whole website and me going forward, obviously, will all be about the Queen of Sorrows story.
Oh my God.
So urban legends will be there. The autumn tale stuff will be there in other works. But this website, me, my name, my brand going forward will be all about the Queen of Sorrows. So
Ah,
the whole website will be around that.
yes.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for you. That is
dude, I'm stoked.
so I have to ask because I know people are going to be wondering, do you mind sharing what this cost you?
Not at all. So I went on to Upwork, and so her building the website, setting up the bot, setting up the newsletter, and basically she reinstalled WordPress for me so that she could put in. She used Elementor to
Oh,
build it.
love Elementor. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's super easy. Anybody can do it because you can use code or you can use GUI. For
Yeah.
people who don't even know what that means, you can type in the crazy, the crazy code that nobody knows, or you can just click and drag and type and things like that.
Yeah.
So Elementor has both. It's great. So she used that to build it, and she integrated everything. Sent me, hey, you're on a free trial of this. After X day, you need to pay for that. Like for the for Mailchimp and things like that for
Yeah.
the email campaigns and that kind of thing. But altogether, $300.
$300?
$300. I tipped her 100, so $400.
Man, I wasted 100 hours of my life last summer
Yeah,
doing this all by hand.
and I knew you did, and I was like, I just don't
I,
have the capability for that. I don't have the time
yeah.
for it.
And
Yeah.
honestly, I wouldn't change a thing because
Well,
I,
and you said wasted. You didn't waste it.
no, I
because
didn't.
because honestly that put you on the course for
Yeah.
where you are now in your other job venture in the venture that pays the bills until you become a $1 million selling author, right?
One day at a time, people. One day at a
Right, but
time.
you didn't waste the time, but
No.
you spent the time learning, and it was a
Yeah.
lot.
It was a lot, and there were a lot of days that were extremely frustrating, headaches, all of that, especially because I went in with zero experience building a website. Like,
Right,
I knew WordPress. I had a like, basic website that hadn't been touched in years. It was just a name on the online.
right.
And then after that, it was just like I sat down and I thought, what do I do? And so I got Word Bakery, which is that's the twin of Elementor.
Okay.
Then yeah, so I think it's Word Bakery. I know bakery's in there, but Word Bakery is basically the same thing. It integrates into WordPress and you can add elements, you can code on the other side if you want. So it's
Yeah,
just like Elementor. And in fact, I was looking at Elementor, it was this close, and I cannot remember the reason I went with Word Bakery.
I'm surprised you went with Word Bakery because Elementor is so known, so it's
Yeah.
like the one to go with. Yeah, but
Yeah.
so you really did start from scratch.
I did. I knew nothing.
Yeah,
Like I basically scrapped my entire website besides obviously the URL and the name. And
yeah,
then I just went in and just rebuilt everything.
yeah, and it looks amazing. Like I wanted to emulate to a point yours, and not of course copy, but have all the dope animations and things like that. But I was like,
That's
dude, I just
dude.
don't have time.
Well, and you can come back to it. So that's the thing. Like,
Correct. Right.
that's my goal. Like this summer, especially when things slow down with the standalone, the edits, and I finish the development edits for the query project that I literally have been sitting on for a year. Like, I
Right.
want to sit down and do some refreshing on the website, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of work. You know it. It's just
Yes.
sitting down and spending that much time. And then it's kind of like a rusty engine because if you don't get in there frequently, you forget where the heck you are. You're like, what does this even mean? What buttons did I click to get to this point? Like,
Dude,
what is happening?
I have built 3 WordPress websites and like 2 or 3 Wix. And Wix, there's nothing to Wix. It's
No,
point and click, whatever.
that's template. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so I've done WordPress, but it was years and years ago. Like when
exactly.
I was doing Anxiety Odyssey and things like that. So it was 3-4 years ago. So and I went into it. I was like, I'm gonna knock this thing. I even told you, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna spend the day building the website. And
You literally told me, and I was
yeah,
like, what?
yeah. Went in and I couldn't remember a thing. And
Yeah.
it's so. I think the people who have never done one don't understand how much backplane work is done, to make images that you click here, go to there and stay in the right format and the right ratio.
Oh my
And then
god.
all the interlinking things behind the scenes, like it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Like the and then the slider revolution, that's where the images move on top. That's
Right.
the what I integrated for that. And which is an awesome. I
Oh
love
yeah, it's
slider
great.
revolution. I
I
will
love it.
sell my soul for it.
Yeah.
But it was such a pain in the butt getting it mobile friendly. I mean, it was traumatizing. I was like,
Yes.
everything else I could kind of work through and figure it out. Slider revolution, I don't know what it was about that, especially with the elements adding to it, with the
Right.
how the text formatted. I was like, what is going on? Like half of them were just like so sassy, and I had after spending hours building them and building the page, I had to rebuild the slider revolution
Right.
intros in
Right.
order to accommodate more mobile friendly
Right.
because I knew mobile was going to be the primary use. And I was
And
like,
that's
oh,
another thing for people who don't want to spend the time. You could go, and I'll share her information on Upwork with anybody who wants it. She was awesome. She's great.
yeah,
But anybody who doesn't want that or doesn't have the funds to do that or doesn't have the time, Wix and things and builders like that, template websites like that, it's really good. And it has anything you do on desktop version, it will correct the ratio for mobile version.
Wix
So
does that automatically.
it does it automatically.
A hole.
Yeah,
God.
but it's super simple stuff. It's you don't
Yeah.
get you don't get as much integration and as much you don't get as granular with Wix and builders
Yeah.
like Squarespace, things like that. You don't get as much granularity with that as you do with WordPress. But you could build a Wix website in a day and have
Yeah.
it look perfect on desktop and look perfect on mobile.
Yeah, and that was the thing, like, I loved the concept of Wix, but it didn't have the freedom that I was looking
Right.
for because
Exactly.
just like you and I have talked about, like, creating this entire world on your web space
Right.
and just being like, "This is where I want people to go in and feel immersed
Exactly.
immediately." That
Exactly.
was the goal.
If they've ever seen me on social media or met me in person or seen the YouTube content, whatever we're doing, same with you,
Yeah.
and they're interested. They're just interested. I get that way. If I meet somebody or if I see somebody that I'm interested in, well, how can I get to know these people better? Because obviously I can't sit down and have a coffee with them,
Yeah.
but I can get to know them better. So I want my website, and your website is the same way. I want my website to be a place where they can come in, be part of a community, learn about me, talk to me. I can learn about them, because we're still small potatoes, right? And like the
Baby.
beautiful thing about small potatoes is that you can still have that connection.
Yeah,
So I want
exactly.
people to click on my website, hit enter, and go into the world of the Queen of Sorrows.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's magic when that happens.
yeah,
Yeah. That was such a big thing for me, and obviously, as you know, it takes a lot of work to do that, and it's not easy. It's
no,
I think it was July. I thought it was gonna be a one-week thing. arrogance. Okay. I thought, oh, yeah, we'll get this figured out. The
Awesome.
1 week turned into 2 weeks, turned into 3 weeks. And I think by the end of July, we were nearing in 4 weeks. And I was so done looking at my website. The only thing that mattered to me was that it was up, live, and running. Obviously, mobile friendly
Right.
too, because I waited until the last step I did was making everything mobile friendly.
Oh, that
That
no.
was a
Oh,
mistake.
oh, that is brutal. That probably took you just as long
Dude,
to get. Oh, I can't even imagine.
that was so bad because the crazy thing is I never thought about it. Think about this. We live on our phones, like everything like that. Everything's
Right.
mobile. I never once thought about the mobile friendly aspect of my website until the third weekend.
That's hilarious.
And I went, "Oh crap. Like
Yeah.
this might be a problem."
Yeah.
And so I told myself there's nothing you can do now. You're almost done building out the website. Just
Right.
build it out and then return and then work through and see what needs to be mobilized and not.
Yeah.
Because some of it was already weirdly mobile and
Yeah.
the settings were already there. And I was like,
Some of
yeah,
it fit, but a
yeah,
lot of it I'm sure didn't.
yeah. And the slider revolution was the one that was like
Yeah.
such a nightmare to figure out. Like
Yeah.
that was, but the thing, like, the funny thing is you brought up something about the ratios and it made me laugh so hard, like not out loud, but I was
Yeah.
sitting there like chuckling to myself because I did all the ratio aspects and I signed on like 2 weeks ago or something. And I was looking at something because I always like to see if the website's still working,
Sure.
obviously
Yeah.
hyper focusing on it. And I signed on and the ratio on one of my character profile photos is different than what it was when I made it that way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you piece of crap. So
Yeah.
it's like sitting
Yeah.
in the back of my head where I'm like, it's so minor that like nobody would actually care.
Right.
But I know because it gave me
Right.
such a pain when I made it because it kept adjusting and like then it finally worked. And I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
readjusted to the same
Yeah.
thing. And I'm like,
That's
what are you
crazy.
doing?
What is happening? And
Yeah.
nobody cares, but maybe they do. It's you don't want your website, 'cause I do. I go to a lot of indie author websites as I'm building my own, and I'm like, what do I like? What do I not like? Things like that. And when you do see something out of place, when you do see an image, all of a sudden you click on a link and it's all optimized for mobile. You're on your phone and you click on it, and the image just like explodes on the screen and you can't see the text. Things like
Yeah.
that. It's like that is a bummer, and it does pull you out. And
Yeah.
especially with people like us who are trying to really make it an explorable, livable world, you don't want something
No.
to take people out of it.
It's a freaking nightmare because
Yeah.
you want to leave that lasting impression and the fear is losing. You said exactly. It's like pulling out of the world.
Right.
And that is the biggest fear. You put all this time into something and then one minor adjustment or something missed, whatever, because life is life. And all of a sudden that reader, viewer, watcher, whatever is like, I can't. You're like,
Right.
give me a break.
Right. Imagine going through so I have a page that is for the Queen of Sorrows, and it has some images and it has but eventually it's going to have a compendium of all the characters, and then you click on a character and see the small description. You can go to a page and actually see the full character and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's so and oh okay, so let's talk about this first. I know we're all over the place, but hey, that's what we do. We are indie authors unplugged. But so you had the greatest idea of all time. So I've been sharing a lot of my work, and my chapters are longer. They're 3,000 to 5,000 words a chapter. But I share snippets. Hey, this was a cool line. I liked. I've been sending you lines all week.
Yeah.
And you at one point reacted to one because Chelsea knows things that happen that nobody else does, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, dude! Knowing what happens, like I'm like in tears, like I can't, because it was such a beautiful scene."
Yeah.
And so she had the amazing idea of doing custom, because I'm going to do one-off custom hardcovers with the dust jacket, the sprayed painted edges. I got a few stencils for the sword, And so the sprayed edges are going to be gold underneath, and the sword will be gold, and the rest of the edges will be green. It's going to be awesome. So I'm going to do these custom one-off hardcovers, and to send with them, I'm going to send custom Queen of Sorrows tissue boxes. Is that
So
not
happy.
is that not amazing? I've already found the company that I'm going to use, and
No.
yeah, it's gonna be so anyone that gets the custom sprayed edges hardcover will also get a custom Queen of Sorrows tissue box, because you're gonna need it.
You're
So
gonna need it. I
you're
promise
gonna
you
need
will
it.
need it.
You're gonna need it. Yeah, it's
Oh my god.
yeah. So I was sitting at the coffee shop, and I was writing the end of that chapter that I sent you that snippet from, and dude, I started crying. Like I had tears in my eyes in the middle of the coffee shop, just knowing what happens, and oh my gosh, dude, it's gonna be heavy, bro. It's gonna be good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited you actually went through with that idea because it's like so unique and so fun.
Yeah. It's such a great idea. It's such a good unique idea. It's so much fun. No, I don't know if anyone has ever sent out custom tissue boxes with
I have no
their
idea.
hardcovers. That's
I have no
great.
idea.
Yeah, so I'm super stoked. Also, we talked last week or the week before. I don't think we got much of any actual solid, advice that people could take away last week, because last week was just such a hilarious crap show. But
It
thank
was
you,
so
Gabby.
much fun.
Appreciate that. But the week before, maybe we were talking about utilizing AI to help navigate your characters and places and events and things like that, right?
Oh, creating these entire channels and
Yeah,
feeding them data and
yeah,
then being able to be like, you know, what was so and so's eye color?
right. Extract this, extract that, because writing these giant, epic, worlds,
Yeah.
you have to keep track of all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I uploaded the first 8 chapters into ChatGPT. I said, in a file. I didn't copy paste. I actually uploaded in a file. Said, open this, scan it, and give me all named characters, all events, all places, all streams, waterfalls, rivers. I had this whole thing. I said, extract all of that, put it into a CSV file that I can download, and with it, put what chapter it was in, and a description that leads to that character, or that whatever.
Wow.
My gosh, it popped out the most beautiful, organized. This guy, this is the kind of stuff he wears. This is his eye color. This is his hair. Blah blah blah. He first appears here when he's doing this. Blah blah. What a game changer! What an
Oh,
absolute game changer!
it's so nice because exactly what you said. It's when you start getting this deep in the world, you're and let's not forget, we are people, we have full-time jobs, we have
Right,
families, we have life obligations. Like trying to keep all that information stuffed up in your head and trying to recall the tiniest and sometimes the most influential details
right,
are extremely difficult. Like
right.
a nervous habit, right? Like in book 4, I talk about Alaric and his nervous habit, where you can Cyrus observes and goes, "Oh, he's doing that with his hand again. He's pissed." And he's
Yeah,
like, he's antsy.
right.
And it's such a minute detail, but if you were two books down, you'd forget about that.
You totally forget out. But the reader, or when you go back and reread, will totally be like, "Wait, that wasn't what he did.
Exactly.
When did this change?" And so
Exactly.
then, and again, it will pull people out. And yes, readers can be forgiving, but you don't want them to have to forgive.
No.
You want them to be in that place, and to be like. So I was on like chapter 9 or something yesterday, and I couldn't remember what color of eyes Eshell had, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't remember. So pulled up the deal, Control F, Eshell, went right to it.
Ugh.
Told me exactly what color eyes he had. So I was like, that's okay. That's pretty cool.
It's a game changer when you're in the moment and you're writing and you're like, I need to get some stuff down.
Right.
And the other thing is and I dare say this is I've used this and I want to move do it more moving forward, because after book 4, I'm doing a bit of a marketing strategy tweak,
Right.
and I'm going to change everything, for the standalone. But something I started experimenting with was I opened up that thread. It's been fed all 3 books. And for marketing purposes, I started experimenting around. I said, summarize the first 3 books and give me the primary tropes, themes, lessons learned. And I even called them out by character. What are the top lessons that Syra Costello learns? What are the
Awesome.
top lessons Morai Garrel or Cyrus? What is it? And it was so cool because, as authors, we don't really, and maybe it's a meme, I don't really think about the themes I'm delivering.
Right.
I'm not sitting there going, I want this trope, I want this theme. The story comes to life as the characters tell you the story. And
Right.
if that happens to fall into a certain redemption arc or anything like that, I go, oh, that's badass.
Yeah.
But there were certain things that were called out in this summary that was given to me that I thought, wow,
Yeah.
that was really powerful. And now that I think about it, 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Certain characters dealing with the overwhelming sensation of loneliness, and what do they do to cope with that? And you're
Right.
like, oh, I didn't even
Yeah.
I didn't even make
Yeah.
that
Right.
connection until you brought it
Right.
up. So yeah, it was really cool to see that. And so I'm excited to upload the 4th book because I want to utilize some of those summary key points in
Right.
marketing, because there were things I didn't think about. I was
Oh,
like,
sure.
oh yeah, you're right. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't remember which author it was, but I was reading something about an author and they were talking about just that. And they were being cheeky, but they said, there's some pivotal moment in their novel that so many people had brought up to them, and oh wow, this was so poignant, and this was, it's changed my life. What caused you to go that route, whatever. And the author was like, to be honest, I had no clue. I was hungry and I wanted eggs. Like that was their response. Like they were thinking about making eggs while writing this scene that
that is amazing.
but it's like you said, the characters tell the story. The story unfolds, and it unfolds, if you're doing it right, it unfolds naturally, where you're not thinking about the plot points and these poignant moments. You're just telling the story.
That is it. One scene that stands out to me was in the first book. There is a very iconic scene that nearly every single reader that I am connected with will reach out and say something about.
Yeah.
And I never wrote it intentionally, obviously, just like that author. I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. It's a tongue cutting scene. And people are like, what inspired that? What happened? And I was like, honestly, if you want the truth, I was in such a bad mood that day. That was the truth.
Right.
And
right.
that was like, I was in a really bad mood. I sat down and I was in Morai's character, and it was just like, I'm going to cut this dude's tongue out.
Yeah.
And it just worked so perfectly.
Right.
And it was such a catalyst moment for this character in his development. And so it fits so perfectly with everything. But I get readers that reach out all the time about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
That's crazy weird. So
yeah. So yeah, there is just so much available in this, we call it AI, but another way to look at it is smart software. It's like, instead of dumb software where you would have to do everything, open the Excel sheet, go to the book, copy paste the name, copy paste the description, start doing all that. Now with this smart software, you can just, tell it what to do and it'll do it.
And that's what it's like. Again, it kind of comes back to what we've talked about. Use it as a tool. Don't abuse it.
Right. And there's no abuse there, because the only thing that it is ripping from or is your own work.
Is the work you uploaded.
That you're doing. Right.
Yeah. And these are, I don't know if you did this, but like my channel is private. Like it's an entirely me made channel dedicated to everything Varelian Saga.
Right.
And I can pull any data I want from it.
Which I should probably privatize mine. You're right. I probably should do that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want, right?
Yeah. Right. Like I don't care. I don't care if somebody So if somebody else gets in there and they're looking for inspiration for a classic fantasy novel, and somehow some of my words get blended into their blender that they get the output from,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad. I'm glad I helped out.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. That's the beauty of storytelling is no trope or theme is unique. What
Right.
makes it unique is how the storyteller tells it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So no, it's super cool because it's literally like your own search engine for your world.
Right.
And that's
Exactly.
it. That is the best $20 I spend a month.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. No,
So
is that ChatGPT or is that Gemini or is that?
this is ChatGPT. I
Yeah.
have to look more in Gemini still. I haven't jumped over there yet. I've
Okay.
heard that there could be better, it doesn't hallucinate as much if you ask really
Right.
specific things. But I haven't gotten the chance to do
Yeah,
that.
and like that's kind of how I am, because I've heard a lot about Claude lately too. I
Oh,
guess
I've not heard.
Claude just dropped a new version, Apex or something like that. I can't recall, but
Apex
I've
sounds
heard.
familiar though.
Is that right? Okay, it's something like that. But so I've heard a lot about them too. But it's like, well, I'm starting to know ChatGPT. I already pay for it. It already knows me in the channels that I've created. I'm not really, I should, and when the funds are available, I'll jump around and learn more, because we can always learn more. But
Absolutely.
right now, I'm comfortable with ChatGPT just because it
Right.
works.
And it works. And the more you use that channel, that the engine area, I'm English. It's
Yeah,
Thursday.
right.
Fine.
Yeah,
I promise I write.
yeah. The
Um
engine area. Yeah, just under the hood, right there where the engine area is.
the
Yeah,
engine area.
yeah.
But the more you use it, the more it learns what you want. It learns with you and it
Right,
becomes more accurate, more specific. And
right,
that's the cool thing is just like when you first start using the channel, you're like, okay, what am I asking and why are you giving me these answers? And then you
right,
start getting more specific and you go, okay, no, I didn't really want this. I want more on this character on
right.
this particular moment. And it goes, oh, okay, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
once it's trained, it
it's yours.
will. Yeah, it will know exactly what you're asking for.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
the thing
really.
about those AI channels is like you have to train them. It's not going to be perfect the first time you get in there.
Right.
I mean, I know there were certain times when ChatGPT was a little fresher and I was asking JavaScript questions because I was in this project and I was like, I'm drawing a freaking blank. And I'm like,
Sure.
but the funny thing is like it started spitting out stuff and I was like, that's not right. And then I was
Right.
training the AI. I was like, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 that's not
Yeah.
right.
You
And it
you
was
you
like,
put this parentheses here, and then you put
my
this period.
apologies.
Yeah.
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 It was like, my apologies. You know, look at this. And I was like, that's a little bit better. But, and I was like, okay, we're not even working on the project anymore. I'm literally training you JavaScript.
Right.
Like, what
Right.
is happening?
Right. And
Yeah.
I've actually had a couple people holler at me and be like, "Hey, how do I get started with ChatGPT? What is the best way to get used to it?" And I tell them straight up, and this is how I talk to ChatGPT. I use it as a conversation.
Yeah.
You have conversations with it. So I say, when I first get on, "Hey, good morning." Like, seriously, I do, and I say please and thank you and things like that. What you're doing is you're training it to have that conversation with you,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, so it's all trainable, and especially once you upload your works and things like that in that specific channel, dude, it's a lifesaver, man. I love it.
I've had a lot of fun with it. I haven't personally been in my channel for a while. I just totally spaced on it, but I'm gonna get back on, especially with the fourth book. Upload it,
Yeah,
ask some more questions, But yeah, it's really cool, and
yeah.
that's what I think. The takeaway with this conversation is, I just want people to know, like, don't villainize it just because the 1% want to.
Oh,
It's
right,
like,
right, yeah. Especially for like the way we're using it, like.
yeah,
And I'm not saying we're the only right way. Chelsea had a great point with coding. Like, I heard that ChatGPT is great for Python.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it's just great for it. So for anything, or for homework, I mean, you could train a channel to be top notch in mathematics,
yeah,
and you're not stealing somebody else's work. Mathematics has been around since 2 + 2 is 4, and it's been like that since the beginning of time.
exactly.
Yeah, you're not stealing anybody's work, but if you have a mathematic problem, or if you're building some equation, or if you need help understanding a principle, Like it's perfect. It's perfect for that. And so in our world, if you upload your entire manuscript, that's basically just like having a really, really, really smart person have read your manuscript, and they can feed back to you information that you've given
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. Like, even I've asked it questions about my magic system, because my magic system grows and gets bigger and bigger. And there's so many minute details where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you know?
Right.
And I've asked it to summarize my magic system, and it's like, here. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like,
Right.
I needed this because it kind of helped me clarify some stuff on book 5, you
Right.
know?
Right.
It's just, yeah. So use it as a tool. Don't villainize it. I know it's easy to villainize it. And obviously that's a fine line depending on who you ask.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I think there's some really positive
Yeah.
takeaways with
I do too.
a search engine that you can customize for yourself,
Right.
especially as an epic world builder, where
Right.
you're like, holy crap. Or like we said, if you need help with homework, coding,
Right.
whatever,
Right.
it'll give you the coolest things, where it's like, I'm drawing a blank on what to make for dinner.
Right.
Give me some ideas.
Right. Absolutely.
And it'll give you stuff. We
Right.
mess around with it all the time here, because
Yeah.
we'll be like, well, what do you want for dinner? Let's ask and see.
Right. Right.
And it'll just spit out these like most wild ideas, and you're like, wow, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
by the way, I know what I want for dinner now.
Exactly. Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I love it. I think it's a great tool, and people. Yeah. Hopefully, people will learn to accept it or have an open mind about it. And there are some that won't ever, and that's fine.
It's fun.
Everybody has different opinions. Hopefully there's no banishment of this person or that person, if they decide to use it. Now, if you are using it for creatively, if you are using it creatively, you have to be careful that you're not taking work from that output and calling it yours. You can't do that. But that's not even a question of really the AI. That's more just a question of morality. Is morality? No, because
Yep.
not everyone buys into morality. I do, of course, but it's just a question of right and wrong. However
Integrity.
you
Yeah.
want to frame that. That's what it is. It's a question of right or wrong. And so you have to be careful there. But as far as using it as a tool, creating your own is that what you call it? You're
Don't
creating
even engine
your own
area.
under
I don't
engine
know.
or engine area, and using that as a tool, man, it's good stuff.
Yeah, especially what you said, even with the producing an Excel file. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
right.
epic.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And so when I do go to create the compendium, I will be able to pull from that to now. I'm not pulling from somebody else's work, yo. That's my work.
It's your work, and
It's
it's been
just
organized.
organized, and now
Yeah.
I can use that. Yeah. So there's fine lines, there's gray areas, but the bottom line is just no right and wrong.
And I know there's authors out there that are super organized. And for you all that can organize your stuff like from the get go, I idolize you, because I have literally tried 6 different times to create binders and everything for my world. I've tried to create Word documents to track my world, and I am the worst organizer with that stuff. I
Yeah.
fully admit it. I own it. I am a disorganized, chaotic writer. And the world gets bigger and bigger, and I keep going, okay, where am I trying to keep track of this?
Right.
Like, the terminology section I made is bigger than it needs to be, strictly for myself.
Right.
Like,
Right.
people
Right.
go and they're like, I don't remember that being mentioned. No, that's for me.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
is for me.
hey, so case in point, I just remembered something. So in my Queen of Sorrows channel, I was describing a scene, not in the channel, in my writing, where the wind was shifting from the mountains as it came down south. And I was like, how does it? So I asked it. I said, that the Isildur castle is here, and the Titan's crown is there, and the Serrated Sea is here, and the sheer drop. I said, what would be the temperature change? For that,
Ooh,
right? And so I was able to get that from it. It knew geographically where everything was set in my world, and it was able to tell me what the temperature change would be
that's
further down the valley. Cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was like,
That's
that is
cool.
super dope.
Because and you can attest to this, and I'm sure many, many writers out there can attest to this, is like, you try to be accurate in your writing.
Right.
You want to have the accuracy with certain things and how they come across, even in a fictional and fantasy setting,
Right.
where you're making the rules, but you still want those what is the temperature change? How do the
Right.
shadows hit? It's
Right.
like
Right.
it's
Like you can,
all sorts of
especially
things.
if it knows where all that stuff is. There's a tree that is pivotal in my story, so it knows exactly where that tree is. I
Yeah.
could find out things about that tree that I've written, but that it would know that maybe I've forgotten.
Yep.
And it's think about the age old joke in writing where the FBI has its own file on me because of everything I Google. Right. So from the beginning of the internet, we've been Googling, and before that, we were using dictionaries or whatever else to find descriptions or to find out how things work. You're not stealing. Now, if you were to go to a Wikipedia page on like how a body decomposes in a certain acid, and you were to copy and paste that description and put it in your book, that's cheating.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yep.
But if you were to learn and understand that concept and then describe that concept, that's not cheating. That's not
No.
wrong. We've been doing that from the beginning of the printed word.
Yeah.
So you've got to shape and form your opinions and your arguments on this carefully, and don't just jump on a bandwagon. Don't just villainize it. Now, I do see a lot of, especially with ChatGPT's new 4.0 image generator, that man, I don't know if you've seen it, but like they're saying it's going to put graphic designers and marketers out of business, and it is unreal. Like it
Is
is
that
unreal.
the one you were messing with the other night?
Yeah, where I made you and me look like
Yeah.
South Park characters. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
awesome.
it was hilarious. So
Here it
so
is, it
again,
everybody. Micah has to share it now. You
yeah, I
you
will.
have to
I'll
put
put
that
it up
in.
on the screen right now. Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's pretty freaking hilarious. But for people who would utilize that for their own marketing, they're taking away the thousands of dollars that a marketer and a graphic designer and a project manager and everything like that would do. And so yeah, there are crazy things that are going to happen, and some of them are negative.
Yeah.
But you have to look at everything and form your opinions. My opinion is, yeah, that sucks. And if I was a graphic designer, I'd be scared. I'm actually even thinking of me being a server guy.
Yeah.
Like even at some point, it may come from my job.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Because the question is as humans, where do we draw the line about where we put the importance on the human interaction and the human work
right,
versus it being automated?
right. Now, can a machine pull a server from a rack and open the case and replace memory? And yes, maybe it's at some point, but that's far
That's
into the
next
future
row.
right now. But can you write a script with AI and push a button and configure that server? Yeah, they do it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of things to fear about it. But if we stay the course and don't use it for or don't use it in a way that it would take away from other people, and don't use it for plagiarism or things like that, but use it as a tool, yeah, I think it's the way of the future. And I think everybody needs to embrace it. I'm not saying embrace it. I'm just saying, I think that it's a good tool to use.
Yeah, and I always say, kind of jumping off that, but I say it's a rubber band effect. I think we're excited by it, and the technology advancements are moving faster than we can keep up with it right now.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
AI is some of the fastest advancing technology we've ever seen.
right.
It's just insane what they've done in just 18 months.
Yeah,
But the I think the result of that is the rubber band effect, where as people grow more and more separate and isolated and doing their own things or automating or, leveraging AI for things, I think it's actually going to have the opposite effect where humans are going to begin to realize just how important human interaction is.
correct.
And they're going to build that value and be like, human interaction or human made work, it has more value than AI made work.
Yeah, and that
You know?
that was in a discussion I just watched on like the AI models that are coming out and what
Yeah.
it can't do and what it will never be able to do. And there are some things it will never be able to do.
Yep.
So I think maybe instead of poo-pooing it or being fearful of it, maybe the right step is to learn it.
I agree, because then you
Yeah.
can better understand it.
Right.
And you can better understand where some of these discussions, concerns, or outright villainizing is come from.
Right.
Where is it coming from and what does it mean? And do any of those have any real impact, or are they just empty words that
Right.
have just managed to make the, headlines?
Right.
So,
Right. And a lot of it is headlines. Yeah. You you
yeah.
you, you nailed that.
Yeah.
So 26,000 words so far this week, Chelsea
I
McKenna.
saw your post
Yeah.
right before I jumped on.
26,000 words.
It is Thursday morning, bro.
Yeah,
What
bro.
were you doing?
I'm killing it. Like I said, you're pushing me. You're pushing me in all the right directions, and it's good. And we can't say this yet, but I pushed you into something that is going to be,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So we can't talk about it yet. But I pushed you in a direction that you were never thinking about going. You were probably thinking about it, but you were never going to pull the trigger on it.
no, I'm
And
still not sure.
yeah, but you're going to do it because that's what happens. But so you are pushing me, and my deadline of July 1st is coming closer.
Mhm.
So I need to. I just look at the scope of this, and I'm like, man, I'm on chapter 9, and I'm almost to the point of the first pivotal scenario. I'm almost at the point of the end of Act 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And Act 1 is not going to be very long. Act 2 will be very long. Act 3 will probably be a little shorter. And I think that's basically how it goes usually. So I'm doing good there. But I'm closing in on Act 1. But then I'm like, my gosh, the scope from the end of Act 1 into Act 2, like, and you know how big the world is. I had, like, in the first chapter, I had like 40 characters introduced.
Yeah.
Something stupid in the first chapter. And the first chapter is like 8,000 words. But the scope of Act 1 pales in comparison to what happens
Wow.
in Act 2.
I
Like,
got
it's like
chills. I don't know
like
why that
Act
gave me
1, you're
chills.
looking at it like through like a straw, and Act 2, you're looking at it through like a cannon. Like, it's
Wow.
like, so I'm just like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into?
You are an epic high fantasy writer. That's what you got yourself into.
Man,
So, where is your current word count sitting?
I am sitting at about 70, 72,
That's magic.
fully done-ish words.
Yeah.
Now that's not just the 9 chapters. The 9 chapters are chapters that I can put away and say I'm not touching them until my editor sees them. So
Yeah.
those 9 chapters are done.
Yeah.
So yeah, but and that's probably about 30 to 35,000 words
Wow.
done, put away. I'm not looking at them again.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think it's going to get bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was hoping to stay around the 120, but man, it might be more like 160, 180.
Woo!
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you told your editor yet? Hey, by the way.
No, I'm really my wallet is already hurting. Is the problem? My wallet is already. We had agreed on 1,500 bucks for somewhere between 100 and 120. So I
Yeah.
might be looking like $2,000.
It's expensive. When you get in those higher word counts, it is unreal how much that adds up. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost nerve-wracking where you're
yeah.
like, I don't want to write as much anymore. Thank
Right,
you.
right,
Like, even in the standalone, I went from, so the first draft ended at 93,000 words. I knew there was a
right.
good chunk I wanted to add in the very beginning, and I knew it was going to be like about 100,000 words. I was like, yeah, right around there.
Yeah,
We're sitting at 113,000 words now.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God, like literally more money out of my pocket. Thank you,
Right,
everybody.
right.
Like,
Like that's
yeah,
like, but again, I told you I wanted to stay at about 100 to 120. I made that decision. But as I go through, and each chapter is hitting like on the very low end 3,000, on the very high end 8,000 words per chapter, it's like, dude, there's no way. Because
yeah,
I have to do the story justice.
of course.
I'm not gonna skimp on the story or take stuff out because I'm worried about
Word count.
money. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's scary because I'm like, man, that's a lot of cash for somebody who doesn't have cash. But yeah,
I
we'll make it
feel it
work.
so deeply.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
That is funny, but it's exciting though. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
am so excited for you to be nearing this.
yeah,
And when you hit the 100,000 word mark, man, there's a
yeah.
magical feeling.
Oh yeah,
There's yeah.
yeah. Because I think Urban Legends ended up being at 76,000, and it
Yeah.
was good. It's a good size, and it's a
Yeah.
great, easily digestible, very fun book, and people still. I got my first 1-star review.
Oh shoot, seriously?
And it is so funny. Like I wish, like if I was a more petty person, I would post it and like shoot back at this person, but I'm not, so I won't. It's just to me um it basically said in a nutshell, this is a terrible book. I'd recommend this book instead. The title is called Urban Legends, and there's not a single urban legend in this book.
That doesn't even did they even read it?
I wonder if they put the review in for the wrong book. Because there are
It's
28
all
urban
about
legends.
urban legends.
Right. There are 28 urban legends in that
If
book.
you
Like,
are watching this and you are the urban legend 1-star reviewer, please know there are urban legends.
is that
That's
not
all the book is about.
that's all it is. That's the only thing that's in there is urban legends. So I was like, what? Like it just cracked me up. I was like, that is just too freaking funny. So I had to
That
share. I
is
don't even know where we were before I said that, but like I had to share that. That was
that
funny.
is honestly freaking hilarious. I
Yeah.
don't usually pay much attention to those reviews and stuff, but I still chuckle. Like the worst review I ever saw. Obviously, I don't look at reviews, so there could be something horrifically worse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we
Oh,
don't look.
there is because I put one. I gave you a 1-star.
I knew it. I knew
Yeah,
it,
it was
Micah.
me. It was me.
That's because we're besties. Like
Right, right.
obviously.
I had to knock you back. I had to knock you back down a peg.
Yeah, the pirate slang, by the way. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The review I always chuckle about to this day, and I still petty me wants to make a t-shirt out of it. But essentially the review was 3 stars. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was 3 stars. Yeah. It was 3 stars. And they compliment the world building and everything. They gave me 3 stars because I used the F word. We're not
You
talking.
told me about that.
Yeah. And I used the F word, and that was so derogatory and offensive to them.
Yeah.
Mind you, in The Blood of the Lion, there is a tongue cutting scene. There is a torture scene. We're talking violence.
Yeah.
I mean, and some very real, raw themes that are explored.
Yeah.
But it was the F word.
It was the F word. That reminds me of something I saw the other day. I was watching a YouTube video from an author, and she was saying that she got a 1-star review, and it was like yours. It was praising the entire book. Praising the entire book.
Yep.
1-star review because they didn't like the cover.
Oh my gosh.
1-star review
Pieces
because
of
they didn't like the
crap,
cover.
dude.
Is that not unreal? Blew my mind. I was like, what? That
people are petty, man. And that's what you got to be careful with as an author out in this world. And I'm not ripping on readers. Please don't even take that the wrong way. But you have the 1% out there that will find anything to be cruel. Whether it's on social media, whether you are an artist, whether you are a restaurant owner, like that 1% will find anything to be cruel. And that's why it's so important to protect your peace and be careful what you look at and know that certain people are out there just to be cruel. I mean, I had a comment on a TikTok video freaking months ago where I was talking about the tropes, right? Dragon riders, and I made like a dragon rider something. And some person, literally a stranger, and we're talking I am a nobody on TikTok.
Right.
Some stranger literally comments and says, "I think we've all had our fill of dragons. Thanks." And I was like, are you okay?
That is, people are just nasty. I don't understand the nastiness of people. The only time I ever gave like a 4-star review was some friends of ours who run a very successful podcast had asked me to review their podcast. And I did. And of course, I praised it the entire way. But I had heard that if you only have 5-star reviews, it might make the algorithm see that something slanted, that maybe you're paying for, whatever. That's the only 4-star review I've ever given.
Oh wow.
That's it.
I don't
And the only reason I gave it was to make sure that I didn't hurt the algorithm by giving them their 100th 5-star review. So I
right.
gave them a 4-star review.
That and I feel like I mean, I cringe at leaving 4 stars if I've ever left 4
Yeah,
stars
I do too.
on I like I will always support somebody. I mean,
Right.
even like there's an author out there, Farida something, the inmate, like she does like mysteries and thrillers and stuff like that. And I got into her book and I read it and it was and people love them. Okay. So I'm not coming for you all that read her. Like,
Sure.
I'm not coming for you all. But to me, it was like a soap opera on steroids. It was so bad. It
Right.
was funny. It was like laugh out loud with some of these
Sure.
major moments where I was like, are you effing kidding me? Like,
Right.
did this really just happen? And in fact, it was so soap opera to me. I literally, I gave it 5 stars and wrote a review and said, for the sheer fact that I've never read a soap opera mystery thriller where I was laughing out loud and still somewhat invested to see how they would actually do this. I
Yeah.
said, that's a 5 stars for me.
Yeah.
I said, mad respect.
Right.
Because I can't even, I'm like, I'm not going to freaking be the freaking a-hole that leaves 1 star,
No.
2 stars. I'm like, these are
You know,
people's livelihoods.
and we've talked about this before. Those low-star reviews are if something actually is wrong.
Yeah.
Like if I order that cheap little desk that I just got to put in the bedroom for my writing nook in the late hours, if that had come missing screws and the screw holes were machined improperly and one of the boards were broken and it was warped, I would go out there to warn other people, hey,
Yes.
if you're looking for a cheap desk, look somewhere else because this one, it was not machined right. It could have just been me. It could have just been a lemon, but here's a warning.
And I've done the same thing with material I've bought from Amazon where it's like, I want people to be aware, like this could be fraudulent. Like just
Right.
don't freaking do your research. Maybe go look somewhere else.
Right.
I've done that
Right.
like once.
But like
Yeah.
if I were to leave a 1-star review for you and say that your world, I didn't like it because your world didn't have magic.
Yeah.
What's the what are we getting at here? You know?
Like what kind of person are you? You
Right,
know?
right. Well, what is
Yeah.
happening? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we have time to go into it. Sure, we do because this is what we do: controlled chaos and creativity. That's what we're all about. Did you hear about the author? I think they're in the UK. I will pop their name up here because I can't remember it, but I'll blink it up here so that people can go and do the research. But they had written a book, and it was much along the lines of Lolita, I think. But apparently, in this book, the man, and I don't know if he's a main character or not, the man basically fell in love with a
Oh,
girl.
she's
He's
Australian.
Australian when she was,
Yep.
and the whole thing is like a fantasy.
And she's a mother of like kids.
What is happening? I couldn't believe it when I read that. That blew my mind. And of course, she has gotten destroyed. Like
She was arrested.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like what? Where was her thought process in that? I don't understand.
I don't understand either. So you bring up a really good point. There's an author I know, and she wrote in the paranormal romance community, and she got into it because she loved the innocence of some of the relationships that you could have fun exploring. Because when she got into it, the community, the smut, all that world was a lot more innocent.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, as somebody who's been a part of that world, she said, I've watched it turned into something like I don't recognize. She's like,
Yeah.
it's very disturbing what people are willing to write about to sell a book. And
Yeah.
she's like, and in fact, it repulses her so much about like what happened with this Australian author that she's like, I'm done. She's walking away from the genre completely.
From the genre. I applaud that. I respect it. and I agree with it because I can't believe, like back in the day, when I was coming up, the Harlequin books, things like
Yeah.
there was always romance, there was always quote unquote smut in books, whatever. But the extremes that it has gone to now, and the extremes that people praise it,
And that's the thing, they normalize that
right?
behavior. And I was talking to this author and I was saying, I've read, and I would never say names, but there was a book I read in exchange because they had read mine.
Hmm.
And so I promised I would read theirs. And I read it, and it was a dark romance. And it was so disturbing to me
Hmm.
what was normalized and accepted and praised. I mean, we're talking like, and like
Hmm.
sexualizing that and
Yeah.
like being okay with it, and these like crazy, almost manipulative, domineering acts
Sure.
where I was like, and without obviously bleeping this entire thing, but I was so disturbed by the entire thing. I still think about it years later because I was so
Wow.
appalled by what they were romanticizing and saying was okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and the people, if you looked at the reviews, people were like, "Oh my gosh, I love it," and I was like physically bothered, and I'm bothered by it years later.
Wow.
And that's what the community. And now I'm not rip. We're not talking like contemporary romance, classic romance, fantasy
Sure.
romance, all of that. But I am kind of pinpointing the authors out there that normalize these, what are very usually taboo and unacceptable acts
Right.
that are very demeaning and demoralizing to humans and to
and
the other
and
partner.
and damaging physically,
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
It just
I know
I
there's
I
kinks
don't.
out there. I get it. I get
Well,
it.
and that's the
There's a
question.
line though.
So two questions, because both of us, we both have our own standards, I would say, but both of us agree that there should not be censorship
Yeah.
in art, in music, in film, and anything like that. There should not be censorship. There should be boundaries, walls, some kind of gates for access to it, for whatever. But where does that end?
Exactly.
Where does that end? So since I'm saying there shouldn't be censorship in film, am I then saying that is good and that should be normalized? Because I've done a lot of research in, and you would seriously be heartbroken to see how many women and men, girls and boys, are not only but
Yep.
forced into the world, and then not only forced into the world but forced into these horrible, brutal scenes and whatever, and people consume that on a daily basis. Am I saying that that shouldn't be censored, and because it's the same as a romance movie? Am I, so
Yeah.
where is the line there? That's a hard, obviously, and I will take it. And you can come for me if you want to. I think it's a terrible, terrible thing, and it's so destructive to the people in the industry and to the people consuming it, whether they know it or not. And that's my personal stance. If yours is different, that's fine. No, I don't want to talk about it. It's not something that I care to discuss or go any further than that. But that is my stance.
Yeah. I've
But
always felt the same way. So
yeah, yeah.
that's, yeah.
But taking that back into the literary world, where's the line? Obviously, I
Well,
think anyone, whether they agree with they agree with the or whether they even agree with how is produced, which you'd have to be a pretty
yeah.
vile person to agree with that part. Most people stay comfortably ignorant of how it's produced and they just consume it. That's
Yeah.
that's a different story. But should she have been arrested? Should her books have been taken down? Since we're so open, and we're trying to normalize everything.
And that's
Uh,
where I was going to say there is, she's being punished for something a community has normalized.
right,
Her books became targeted. She is not the only book out there that has normalized.
right.
That's, I mean, what book was it, dude? There was a book, and it could have been from the same author. that did the same thing.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
and the female character was like,
Yeah.
so we have as a community in that world, in that realm, genre, have normalized that behavior and that kind of literature.
Right.
And then now she becomes the target. So that's what I think is really interesting, is the fact that she's not the first author to write about that.
Right.
And she will not be the last,
Well,
unless this is the major moment the world needs.
no, of
And
course not. No, no,
yeah,
absolutely not.
exactly.
No, we are constantly circling the drain. So no, that you're no, that's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
Lolita's what, the 70s? Did Kubrick directed? I think, of course, there was one previous to that, and I think there was a book, but it was, I can't remember how old she was. I'm not going to Google it because I don't want that. I don't want that Googled on my computer or my phone. But I believe she was around that same age.
Yeah.
With a man,
Yep.
a full grown 30, 40-year-old man, something like that. It's been ages since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But that, I don't know. So and of course I think that at the time was normalized. I never finished it. I never actually finished the movie.
Yeah. I
'Cause
would have never.
I couldn't get past my spirit being grieved for what was being normalized.
Exactly. And that's the
Right.
thing. We have that. That's where it's such a, you don't want to target people who write in dark romance and stuff like that, because I'm not going to sit there. I have read my fair share of dark romance books, and, two adults, dark romance fantasy, it's fun to see sometimes,
Sure.
but especially if it's done appropriately. I'm a bit of a stickler for that. If it's done, and I'm not even getting to that. I'm not
Well,
even
and
getting to that.
I'm gonna be the straw man here. Who's to say what's appropriate?
Exactly. Like,
Right.
everybody
Right.
has their own taste, right?
Right.
And so for me, what's appropriate might not be appropriate for somebody else,
Right.
or somebody might be willing to go and read some crazy stuff that to me I would never be caught dead reading, because
Right.
it to me is very unacceptable behavior.
Yeah.
And that to them might be their total kink, right?
Right.
But what is and what isn't acceptable is, I think, the big word here. And I think we've romanticized some very and horrific acts, atrocious acts on
Right.
for the
And
sake of
I think
literature.
right there is something that we can all, because you could say that we've romanticized illegal activity, but everything
Everything can be
that's worth
illegal,
his
right?
salt is, when a vigilante, whose family had been murdered or whatever, goes out and gets his revenge.
Right. We're like, "You
Those are
go,
some of my
dude.
those are some of my favorite stories.
I'm
Watching some
in."
vigilante just destroy these
Yeah.
people. I love that. But
Uh,
so now
yeah.
we're normalizing vigilantism, and we're normalizing if it's for revenge,
Right.
right? And
Right.
I can't remember exactly the terminology you used, but this is an insane topic with much depth that I don't think we have the faculties to discuss on an open forum. We have our opinions, we have our morality, what we think is right, what we think is wrong, but then who's to say that someone else can't have a different opinion? So whereas line
Right.
drawn, many lines should be drawn, but I think the one line that we have established here, we're getting ready to establish, is children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And that was where romanticizing that kind of behavior, where, I tune into true crime podcast, and they are talking about the depravity of some of these actions that parents or family members or strangers take on these young kids.
Right.
And then you pick up a book next to you and they're romanticizing the same behavior.
Right.
And these
Right.
are lifelong impacts that these children have psychologically. And I know we
Oh
can
yeah.
fictionalize anything we want,
Right.
but that's where I can't draw the line with. I'm like,
Right.
that's where I'm
Or
like,
it's where it's
I can't hop over that line and
right.
say,
Right.
sure, that's okay, because all I think about is just the psychological damage and trauma a young innocent child experiences having that kind of exposure.
Right. Right.
It's horrible.
It's
And so
evil.
that's why it's like,
It's
I can't romanticize that. I can't pick up a book and say, oh, that's okay,
right. Right. No,
because I can't get over that.
it's not in any no matter where your morality falls, no matter where
Yeah.
your kinks fall, no matter where anything falls, I think the line is easily drawn and deeply drawn when it
Yeah.
comes to children. I don't think there's a
Absolutely.
yeah, so we shouldn't have brought that up. That's like I said, we don't have the faculties to discuss that, but it was an interesting point to see
It is
this
very
author's
interesting.
fall from grace, and I don't know. It's interesting. It's part of the book world, and so we brought it up.
I think it's interesting too, and I want to revisit the fact that there was the author I know who's literally walking away from the genre because
Yes.
she is so appalled at what is being romanticized and normalized.
I think I know who you're talking about because I
Probably.
saw their post a little while ago,
Yeah,
and I
it's
was gonna reach out and say, "Good
yeah,
for you." Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm
And so
proud. I'm
that
proud of
that
her for
was
that.
that was her thing. She was like, "I'm done." She's
Yeah,
like, "This is ridiculous. We've
yeah,
gone too far."
yeah, yeah.
So
We have, and it's like I said, we're just continuing to circle the drain. I'm very
yeah,
pessimistic when we look at the future of the human race. I
I
don't think
will.
there's much redemption there.
I'm not quite sure either.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like the moral of the story is be careful what you pick up and read, watch, or view. And please don't think we're here to freaking police anybody. It's just I
right.
think it's
We're not here to
important.
police anybody.
Yeah,
Now,
like
if I ever ran across somebody uh, and a child, I would be in prison. I would be in
yeah,
prison the next day. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie. That would be it'd be over.
yeah,
So yes, there I'm saying there is that's wrong. But
yeah.
we're not here to say what's wrong, what's right, and you have to discern that for yourself.
There, I like I said, dark romance or that kind of romance, that subgenre out there. It's like there are some really fun books out there. I've read them
Yeah,
myself, and but it's just like that 1% that are taking it too far, and
yeah,
they're starting to make a bad name for authors in that
yeah,
subgenre.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. We're close to maybe should be wrapping it up. Was there anything else that we should talk about? Anything else you want to discuss? I'm
Oh,
feeling really good for some reason on a Thursday morning with a cold. I apologize, everyone. I did pick up a cold the other day, and so my throat's a little scratchy and whatever. But I'm feeling really good. What else you got going on, girl?
I do you want to blow the whistle on the awards?
Let's do it. Freaking A.
Let's do
Let's
it.
let's do an hour and a half program today.
All right, everybody. So F awards. Okay. Let me that's how we're going to start. So,
How are we even gonna preface this conversation?
we're going to All right, everybody. So, I have awards. I've gone out, I've applied, I paid money. I got awards for book 1, you know. Fantastic marketing
Yes.
placement, right?
Yes,
To say
correct.
award winning, all of this, you can use that. But a couple of years ago, maybe less than a couple of years ago, I stumbled on an award that somebody had gotten, and I was like, gosh, out of curiosity, I was like, gosh, I wonder what that award system is like. And I searched them, and it was a literally pay and get a review, like get a award. Everybody's a winner. Everybody gets a gold
Right.
star essentially.
Right.
And that award is everywhere. I see it everywhere.
Everywhere. I see it. I see it posted up everywhere.
Yeah,
I have even been tempted to do it,
same.
but I will not. I will not do it.
Yeah, I feel
Why?
dirty a little
Right. It
bit.
feels greasy. It feels
Yeah,
grimy. Look at the Stoker Award, or things like that. That has a little bit
yeah.
more clout, right?
Mhm.
There's a little more clout there. But even go look at the Grammys now. You know, Eminem had a huge falling out with the Grammys because when he figured out that it's all figured out behind the scenes. It's all figured out with
Exactly.
look at the Oscars. There's it's all so fake. It is all
Yeah.
so fake. And when's the last time you watched the Grammys?
Years.
Right,
I can't,
right.
because
It's like
when it became obvious that it was paid and it was
right,
just like I was
right.
like, I'm sorry, I can't support this.
You know,
This is ridiculous.
the rewards are so manipulated now
Yeah.
that yes, like you said, it's a great marketing strategy. It's a great thing to implement in your marketing if you win an award winning.
Yeah.
But what does that mean when you've simply paid
Paid
for
for the
the?
review.
I could go out and buy myself a black belt. But if I walk down an alley with three jokers, sitting there drunk on the back of their car waiting for a fight, who's walking away from that fight of the winner?
Not you.
Not me. Not me. I'm going to the hospital.
That's the thing. Like, there is, like, so when I realized this review, essentially you paid for a gold star, I was kind of disgusted by it. And I'm going to be honest, I'm 99% sure the majority of readers have no idea. And there's a chunk of
Yes.
authors that have no idea either
I
it
100%
means.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for that, when I say marketing, you can kind of use it because you're kind of bolstering yourself up. It's the word you've said is posture.
Correct.
You are
It is
posturing a little
right.
bit.
Right.
And
there is a place for that. I think you nailed it. Was it in the writing group? It might have been in the writing group. I can't remember if it was in the writing group around here. But when you had said, you have to convince yourself and talk to yourself and look at yourself as a successful author. You have to have that persona.
I don't remember saying that, but
yeah, you
absolutely.
did. And it must have been in the writing group. But so posturing has its place. You have to do it.
Yeah.
But when does that become fake to the point of cringe? And I think when it comes to the book awards.
I think the book awards have, and I texted you a few days ago, because we got into conversation about some stuff.
we often do. Things
that can't be shared on this podcast.
Look, I think I only have 3 bleeps that I have to do. Well, maybe with that last conversation with the Australian author, I might have a couple bleeps too. But I have very minimal bleeping to do this episode, Chelsea. So let's keep it that way, please.
Yeah, I'm going to be very careful. So we got on the conversation, and I revealed to Micah that I know a very, very good friend who is a judge for one of the major awards, the Bookish Awards. And this is what's kind of soured my perspective on the award system. Even though the other sliver of me, especially when the standalone is released, is like, well, maybe I should submit just so I can say it's an award winning.
Absolutely. Right.
It's kind of like a financial investment where I'm like, well, I know I can say that, and it's that posture bolster, right? It's like, and even look how great this is.
We're not saying don't do it.
No, not at all.
If that's part of your marketing strategy, if that's part of what you want to do moving forward to give that book that little bit more of a recognition, absolutely do it. We're here just to talk. That's what we're doing.
Exactly. And just have an awareness, like if you're an author who hasn't invested in those awards and you look at those other authors with awards, please know that they paid for those awards.
Correct.
So that's the thing. It's essentially putting several $100s into a gold stamp or a
gold stamp. And that's all it is. It's a you go to Printify, get your own right now. Put it on there.
You literally can.
You could give yourself an award, and you could say that you're an award-winning author. And of course, the only time that would be a problem is if somebody says, I don't recognize that company. Who's that? So then they go in and look and they'd be like, where'd you get this award? Well, the same thing can be done with all of these bookish awards going around social media right now. If you dig into it and go to if you're at all discerning, go in and just look at the copy on the websites. It's printed in broad daylight because they have to. Yeah. But all you have to do is be a little discerning. But these are pay to play, pay to win awards. And we're not even knocking it. Look, people got to make money. People have their businesses, whatever.
Yeah.
Those companies that do that, it probably does create a sense of community, and it creates a sense of competition. So there are positive. I just don't want authors to look at these awards and be like, man, my book's never going to be good enough for an award. Newsflash, most of them aren't. But if you want to get an award, you can simply pay for it. That's kind of, so we're just kind of bringing that to light, shedding some light on that. Yeah.
Essentially, they get assigned a number of books, and they get this basic form that just says readability, uniqueness, all of this. And they let's this author, because they are an author, because they were invited on after placing, and they basically said, like, you don't have time to read all this, you won't read all this, like, you basically
Right.
BS, like, you get all this assigned to you and you finish it on an evening with a drink, and it's like 3 or 4 or 5 books, and you just, in an
Right.
hour, you've done it all. um, and
Yeah.
the majority of these judges aren't necessarily looking for uniqueness, they're just going, is it easy, done. So
It's basically which one did I like better in the hour that I'm going to sit here and look at 5 books.
exactly.
Right.
And those
Right.
are compiled with the other judges, and then those awards are given. So essentially, you're paying hundreds of
Right.
dollars for somebody to look at your stuff for 10 minutes. And I truly
Right.
mean that, because
Right.
you do have everyday lives and you are juggling a lot. And sometimes you're not getting these tasks to you until 2 weeks before they're due. And
Right.
you're like in the middle of stuff and you're like, I don't have time to do this and review this in a week, all 5 books.
Right.
So
Right.
essentially, they were telling me that, I mean, even the reviewer reviews, right, where it's like, even the one I've used, I have
Mhm.
admittedly used one, right, reader's favorite, this will
Yeah,
garner
sure.
legions of
Right.
fans, and it is a review that
Yeah.
I adored, and at the time when I received it, it was one of the greatest things and massive confidence booster in a very early journey in my early moment in my
Right.
author journey.
Yeah.
But those major review platforms aren't as prestigious as we like to make them out to be. So, for example, and I think this conversation came up because we stumbled on somebody that is a very poorly written book, very poorly written,
Yeah.
and they were placed in an award. And it was
Right.
extremely frustrating to see, because the majority of people don't realize just how rigged and paid for these reviews are, and how you are just luckily drawn from that selection that says, what these groups of judges like the cover the most, and so this person getting the gold
Right.
star, right, because
Right. It basically shattered the integrity
of awards.
of those kind of
Yeah.
awards. Yeah. And I have my own experiences, my own knowledge of a certain award system that I won't, obviously I won't talk about, but it is the
Yeah.
exact same way. It is the exact same way. It's a pay to win. So basically, maybe just take this as a warning, authors. If you want that posturing platform, if you want that marketing platform, if you just want to slap a gold sticker on your book, that's fine. But just know what you're getting into before
Yeah.
you do. I could go out and pay people to tell me I'm
Yeah.
pretty. It doesn't mean I'm pretty. I'm not pretty, but I could go out and pay. But I could go out and pay people to tell me
Right.
that I am. So then I could go up and tell other people. I'd probably tell my mom, "Hey, mom, that dude said I was
Right.
pretty. That chick said I was pretty." And oh, that's great. That's great. Whatever, man. This is not a thought out metaphor. I'm just saying, know what you're getting into. You're paying for that,
Exactly.
and you're not paying for somebody to actually sit down and read the book and actually win against a bunch of other books. No, everybody's winning, or the couple people that didn't maybe have the best cover or didn't have the best blurb, maybe they won't this time, but they'll get it next time. That's basically how it
Exactly.
happens.
And that's just, it's very, I think it can be very detrimental to upcoming authors that don't know what lies
Yeah.
behind the curtain necessarily,
Right.
where they go, am I
Right.
not doing enough? Am I not good enough? Stuff like that. When in reality, these are all posturing marketing weapons that you're pulling,
Right.
and there's
Right.
not a lot of integrity in a lot that's being done these days. The award system,
Right.
I've got a very
Correct.
sour outlook on the award system from what I've learned, and
Yeah.
it's just, it's like, take it with a grain of salt.
I don't think it's evil to go get a gold star. I have
Right.
awards, like
Not at all.
I have them, and
Yeah,
I use the award-winning term. Heck yeah, I do. Like, you know,
absolutely.
but I think it's just having that awareness of what you're paying and knowing it's not giving yourself a false sense of ego where you're like, look how great I am. And
Right.
but
Right, right, and that's something you and that is a danger. That
yeah,
really is a danger. You know, because when we saw that one, we both said,
it's
you know, but so so it's like, yeah, it's like you don't want to have false belief in your
yeah,
stuff, right? Like I said, going back to the black belt, just because I'm wearing that black
doesn't
belt
mean
doesn't mean I can go out and whoop those three hoodlums that are drinking on the back of their car. It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how many black belts I
yeah,
buy. I am not going to be able to defend myself, let alone defeat those people. I'm
not at
not,
all.
So instead of going out and buying that black belt, I'll go to the studio, I'll go to the gym, and I'll
Yeah,
train through white and through
yeah,
green and through blue and whatever. And so you take your hits and you take your licks and you learn, you get better. And then when you actually earn that black belt, when your master hands you that black belt, then you have the confidence and you know what you're capable
exactly.
of. If you buy that black belt and just put it on, you don't know your capabilities, nor what your capabilities could be, because you are buying into the fact that you're already capable of
Yeah,
that now.
exactly. No,
Yeah,
I think it's just a fine line. It's like go into it understanding what it means, but don't abuse that sense of greatness where you think, look how great I am because I have the black belt.
right. Don't buy
Yeah,
into it. Don't
yeah,
buy into it. Yeah, if you want to use it for your next piece of marketing, great. That's what it's
yeah.
there
And that's
for.
what it
That is what
exactly.
it's
And
there
like
for.
I've said,
Right.
I mean, there's a good chance I might do it for the standalone just because I get to see that gold star
Absolutely.
on there and say it's award winning.
Of course, now when they see this, they'll know that we just shared the secret and they won't give you a reward.
Hey.
Right?
Be like, there's that
Yes, we're
biatch.
we're pulling we're pulling back the curtains. We're pulling back the curtains of all this, but then of course that's going to come bite us in the butt, later. So
Just go to
the the
Printify.
sacrifices we make, the sacrifices we make for our
Just go
listeners,
on Printify and build my own gold star.
a print of our own. Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
By the way, we did get a new sub, so
Hey.
we're hey, so we're no longer at that magic number. We're one above that
Uh,
magic number, so
oh,
that's a beautiful thing.
that is.
Yep,
So,
yep. Do you want to wrap
what
it?
am I to say?
One thing I do
What?
want to talk about. One thing I do want to say real quick. I should have said this at
Okay.
the beginning. So next week we'll say this
Okay.
at the beginning. We're getting on average of, I don't know, 50 to 100 views a week, and the watch time is good, and we're not getting any thumbs down. We're getting like maybe one or two thumbs down. I think we probably had 3 thumbs down in our entire time
Like
doing
from the
this.
moment we started with Maker and
Which is
Ink?
no, from
People
this, from
thumbs
the
down our
writing
laughter?
podcast.
Wow.
I know it's not for
I love
everybody, so
you
I
all
understand.
too.
I'm
Don't
fine with
worry.
that. Yeah, don't worry. But we're only getting like 2 or 3 likes a an episode, and that kills our algorithm. That kills it. And I know people are watching all the way through because the
Mhm.
watch time is good. So we're having people that are enjoying it, they're watching the whole thing, but not leaving likes. Just do it for us to help us with the algorithm. That's all. That's all I'm asking. I could care less about a vanity metric. I don't care at all about that. To see multiple likes. Oh, 6 people like me instead of 5.
Yay!
I don't care. You know, it's for the algorithm, and it trains YouTube that yes, this watch time actually does equal
Yes.
likes. So yeah, so if you all could do that, give us a like, subscribe if you like what we do. That would be awesome. Join the writing group. We just had somebody else join last night, I think. And yeah, so join the writing group. It's fun, it's good. We talk a lot over there about things that we talk about here, and we go into much more depth, and there's a lot of people over there that are very
Mhm.
knowledgeable in writing and marketing and
Audiobooks. I
things like
mean,
that, so
it's
that's a
just
lot of
yeah,
fun.
it's a mass amount.
We just started a thread on audiobooks, and our friend Adam Cagley, who's an actor out in Hollywood, he's a dope dude. He wrote one of the funnest, funniest, coolest books last year, and he's getting ready for his new one. He's on there. He's a great dude. A lot of great people. It's a lot of fun. So join that if you want to. If you want one, hit our DMs over on Instagram, and I'll send you an invite link. Other than that, I guess I just took over your
That's
exit.
good.
So I'll scrap all that. I'll erase all that, and you go ahead.
Hit that
Go ahead.
thumbs up, everybody. Bye.
Bye.